Hi everyone, it's Sean from STK Markets today. We've been sending out information about STK recently in terms of setting up a portfolio service, being able to trade international shares, take opportunities when they come and arise. We're looking at launching that in about 4 weeks, and an international man of mystery is Mike Hudson with Southern Cross Gold. It's at an all-time high today. We've got Mike in the office, and we're not here to talk about Southern Cross today. We're here to talk about one of his other investments, Hannan Metals, which is a company that's been performing very well. And it's a company which is traded on the TSXV, which is where we're looking at moving some of our business to in the future, still based from Australia. But hi, Mike. Thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Good morning, Sean. Always great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. As I said, STK is looking at branching out internationally because there are a lot of opportunities globally. We've got to be very specific when we're looking for them. We've lost money in the past on some management teams and people, and we've found that with your model, it's made us a lot of money. Now our investors a hell of a lot of money. So we're really looking for those types of teams and management people to take the next investments forward. And one that's come across the desk is one that you're associated with, which is Hannan Metals. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on Hannan, where it's based, what it's looking to try to achieve, and where it is in its company life cycle?
Sure. Hannon's one of the companies I co-founded in 2015 specifically. Pre-COVID, I had a lifetime of working in the Canadian and North American markets. So Southern Cross is the first Australian deal. So Hannon has been listed, nearly 10 years now. And it started off the first half of its life in Ireland. So it's named after Paddy Hannon, who discovered the Golden Mile, actually, Kalgoorlie. And we were working in the town where he was born, in Ireland, a little town called Quinn. By about 2019, we were looking for zinc in Ireland, and it got a bit hard. And so we switched across into Peru, which is a country that I've know very well and worked in since the mid to late 90s. So I've had nearly 30 years working in Peru. I love the country very much. I love it for its ups and downs. It's a frustratingly difficult country to work in many ways, but the opportunities are huge, and I've got some great people that I've worked with for literally those 30 years. So it's a country that I have trusted people in. And being at the age, I know you wanted to make this very short, so I'll try and shortcut it. Being at the age back then, pre-COVID, I was able to raise capital for exploration and pure exploration ideas, having found a few things in my time. And so we decided to go to somewhere where we could make huge discoveries, big new discoveries, not just literally go back and work on a project that had been known before. And myself and my business partner in the day, Mark Saxon, had bought all the data from Pasminco, the world's largest zinc company at the time, from their administrators back in the late 90s. So we had this database from Pasminco that was Peru or South American focused that we were able to generate lots of projects from over the years. And so we knew we had a data rich environment, if you like, because we had that data. We knew that a lot of things were happening over the Andes. So Peru is coastal, Andes, and then high jungle, and then down into the Amazon. That's basically a cross section through Peru. We're going into that high jungle area that has never really been looked at that much. 20 years ago, you needed military escorts to get in there because of all the drug growing. That's finished now. 20 years ago, it was cleaned up, and basically, to cut the long story short, we found a new copper gold porphyry belt over 150 kilometers. We've got the first mover advantage. We've got a JV with the Japanese government on some parts of the system, which is a sediment hosted system. Canada's largest mining company owns 9.9% of it, and it's just started drilling. So huge elephant country, huge opportunities. We've got something like 18 different copper gold epithermal porphyry projects, and amazing discovery opportunities.
That's fantastic. So you've had these discoveries for the last 12 months. There's been some significant movement in the Hannon share price. You've done the geophysics, you've done your soil sampling, you've done your trenching. How have those results been? They appear to be very good. But can you just go through that and where the company's up to at the moment? As you said, there's several tenements. There's not just one. It's much bigger than what people can imagine. And there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, it's a very large land package. We're one of the top 10 landholders in Peru in terms of exploration tenure. And we've done a lot of the de-risking over the last 5 years. So these were brand new areas where nobody had looked. So we went in there and did the reconnaissance exploration, did the stream sediment sampling, flew the aeromagnetics, flown the LiDAR, gone in there and done detailed sampling and rock chips and Peru. That frustrating comment before is that it's slow and quite bureaucratic. So we've taken a long time to get the drill permits, but we're there now. We're drilling as we speak. We've got one rig moving to two in a few months on one part of the project, and that's called Balen. And there's two copper gold porphyries sandwiched in between an epithermal gold system over 9 kilometers. So we'll be drilling there all this year. There's something like 5 kilometers planned there at the moment. And then we're working another area which is called Previsto, or the working name is the Monster. It's 5 by 5 kilometer area with soils going above zero point 0.1 gram gold, which is huge. It's a huge footprint. It's sort of globally significant footprint. And now we've just started to find some very high grade gold in those areas. We're trenching, say, 25 meters at 7 grams within a 160-meter zone that runs a couple of grams, and that's just right for the picking. A bit earlier stage, so we're going through the permitting to drill that now. So we won't be drilling that until next year, probably mid to later next year. But we've still got a lot of drilling to do 20 kilometers away, and then there's another 15 porphyries that are all at various earlier stages, and epithermal systems. So this is building like a pearl necklace, if you like. Each different pearl is a different project, and we're progressively de-risking each one as we go forward. So we'll have always 3 or 4 projects we're working on, but of course one will take the focus and as we've started drilling, finding those very better parts of the system earlier is our challenge now.
In terms of Peru, like we've seen a lot of mines go to Argentina in the South American landscape. Has Peru been mined? You've said that it's sort of new country. What's it like mining in Peru? Is it achievable, or what's the sovereign risk like there?
Oh no, it's a mining country and has been forever. Of course, you can remember Inca gold and all the gold and wealth that the Spanish came down to take, basically during the conquistadors and that history during the 15th or 16th century. So it's always been a mining country. It's top one, two, or three for gold, copper, lead, zinc today globally. It's really a significant country for multi commodities. So very much a huge part of their economy, and it's just culturally different, like every country is, and every country goes through pendulums of easiness and difficulty. Peru's coming from a difficult area and it's becoming much easier and better as just things were slowing down because of the time frames things were taking. So it's very much a mining country.
In terms of Australia, like it's one of the most expensive regions to do exploration work in the world. What's it like in Peru in terms of getting your drillers in there, your soil samplers? Do you need a big budget like Australia, or is it significantly cheaper? We've seen with EQR, for example, it's almost from memory twice as expensive to mine in Australia as it is in Spain, for example.
Yeah, so I don't have mining costs off the top of my head, but I can talk to exploration very much in an informed way. Uh, it's cheaper in many respects because salaries, of course, are not as high as, for example, Australia, but you tend to need more people to do the same thing. So you have a driver. So every geologist has a driver, for example, whereas a geologist might drive themselves. Of course, in Australia, we don't have drivers in Australia. So you tend to have more people. Employment is really important around the local areas in which we work. So, rather than getting heavy equipment in. We use teams of up to 30 or 40 people with shovels and picks to make roads in, for example. So, but it's just a different way of working. So overall, it's swings and roundabouts. It's similar. Drilling is no doubt more expensive. I've got a dog here wanting to say hello. Um, uh, we find drilling costs higher than what we would say in parts of Australia, but it depends where you are again in Australia.
So overall, business in Peru, it isn't too hard. I mean, you've still got to deal with the regulators like you do any location, but you've got your drilling permits. You're actually turning dirt at the moment with drill results pending at this particular point in time.
It's a huge opportunity, Sean. The greatest thing we've got to work out is where are the high grades and we're in the drill holes and how can we focus on them early. But this is a business that has huge future. There's very few copper explorers. There's very few copper explorers with big targets. There's very few copper gold explorers. I should say gold's a key part of this system, and we will be focusing more on the gold than the copper because that's an easier thing to do. But there's very few copper gold companies that have such first mover advantage in new terrains. This is a new copper gold belt in the world.
I know with a lot of the fund managers we deal with, the key commodities for a lot of them have been gold, and copper has been a big flavour for a lot of the large miners. And STK doesn't have a copper position in the portfolio at the moment. We've got plasma, we've got tungsten, we've obviously got gold with Southern Cross, and we've got tungsten processing. We've got some rare earths, obviously with ACDC, which we'll touch on in a later video. But at the moment, we are looking for that copper play, hence looking at setting up the managed portfolio service where we can actually offer our investors the ability to transact and buy shares overseas on any market through interactive brokers. We're looking at signing with them at the moment. But we'll update you in the next 4 weeks. But Hannon Metals is currently traded on the TSXV. So if you've got access to buy shares on the TSXV at the moment, the code is HAN, Hannan Metals. So it's one that we've been looking at for quite some time. The share price performance is good. And those assays coming back from the lab should be in about July. Is that right, Mike?
Something like that, Sean. Yeah, we just literally started over the last few weeks, and everything's in process. So we expect it around that time frame, definitely.
Well, you've got a campaign going. So, like Southern Cross, you make announcements as they come through. You'll get some near misses like we've had. You'll hopefully hit pay dirt relatively quickly. But the soil sampling and the geophysics, they certainly look very, very positive.
I know it's the systems are there. Like I said, the challenge is to find the best parts early on in the first handful of holes rather than hole 50 or 100 or something like that. So it's an incredible discovery opportunity. We spent 5 years de-risking it, and it's you're very fortunate to be talking now because it's been an interesting and hard path, but we're there now.
You've been in Peru 30 years. Like, there's obviously a lot of passion for the project. Can you tell us what drives you with this particular one?
What drives me, Sean, is discovery, and there's many, many, many discoveries to be made in a new porphyry copper belt. You find projects sometimes, but you don't find belts over 150 kilometers that are new mineralized belts in the world. So it's really the opportunity of making, like we set up the company to make the very large discoveries in new areas that no one's ever explored in. So it's an amazing opportunity. It's not one project, we're drilling 3 projects at the moment. We've got another one that's huge, the monster we talked about previously, but then there's so many more discoveries to be made. So it's the business of getting to the best parts early that is the challenge, but the passion is absolutely bringing wealth creation to the regions and the people through discovery and shareholders benefiting.
That's fantastic. So when you're saying that, I mean, discovery, it's like my investors wanting to make money. I guess that much makes them happy. You're not really as concerned about making the money. You're concerned about finding something amazing.
Well, one of the rules is to make money, but don't chase it. So it will come based on doing things correctly, and that is, following a process in exploration, thinking correctly about how to structure companies and bringing the right investors together and working very closely with local stakeholders so you're accepted for what you're doing and understood for what you're doing, and they're benefiting along the way too. So all those inputs, keeping the right values, will lead to the outcome of wealth creation. But it's not the prime driver in isolation. It's a result of doing everything correctly.
That one point where you mentioned the wealth creation, with a project like Hannon, where could it potentially go?
Uh, there's multiple opportunities in Hannon to make single large asset discoveries in isolation. So I'm not going to put a number on it because it's not the right thing to do. We could do that over a beer, but there's multiple globally significant world-class discoveries to be made in Hannon. There's not just a one-off shot.
So would you say that Southern Cross Gold would be a world-class discovery?
Oh, hands down, Southern Cross Gold is a world-class discovery. It's a very rare asset. It's a multi-million ounce, averaging around 10 grams according to the exploration targets that we put out there. 8 to 10.5 grams, I think, is the range. There's very few deposits at that grade. It's really the top few percent globally, and it is multi-million ounce potential, which is unique also. So it is a very rare and unique asset, absolutely.
So you're looking at Hannah with 100 million, and I'll sort of get it out of you in my weird particular way. But you're looking at, if you're thinking we could have a top tier asset from Hannon, if you're thinking Southern Cross is top tier and it's still in the infancy stage, it's worth about 1.8 billion, depending on what day of the week it is. And that's growing daily. So it's certainly got no looks like it's slowing down with the amount of exploration work still to occur and so much more to explore. You could sort of picture that something like Hannon, so several billion from 100 million market cap where you are today, potentially.
You said it, Sean. As a broker, you can say those things.
Okay, perfect. I think when you're talking drill holes, and I think it's relevant to mention for any company that's looking at exploring, I think it was hole 33 that really set the benchmark for Southern Cross when when you made that announcement on the Monday morning, and you made the market aware of that you'd hit the mother lode. And I think one of the advisors we worked with actually called it a stoinker. That's the first time I've ever heard that word. But quite frankly, it was quite funny at the time. But they don't happen overnight. Like, you've certainly been doing this project for 5 years, and you're in that period where there could be that good capital appreciation over the next 6, 12, 18 months. So it's definitely a longer term position for where we used to look at trading, now looking at investing. And I think the key thing is, I speak to a lot of Southern Cross investors that got in at 20 cents and then got out at 40 cents. And you're now looking at a share hike price literally of 7.82. And those people who got out 12 months ago, well, 24 months ago, for 40 cents, thinking they made 100% and they're 2 times their money. I can't do the calculations off the top of my head, but I think it's almost 40 times down that you've got to sit in and wait. And I think with these real discoveries coming in and waiting, and I think you've got your regionals, you've got your permitting. There's a lot more news to come from Southern Cross. I think it is a longer term hold as well. And I think the way that we're investing these days is you've got to find the right management teams, which I think you do. We think EQR's got the right management teams. We look at the portfolios of what we're going into and where we can put our personal money. And I think Hannon's got all the recipes for the right success. You've got that team that you've known for a while. You've proven you can find things and do the right marketing to attract the right money. You've got a project where you've done a lot of the heavy lifting. So I think it's definitely one to watch and to start accumulating on the market. So if any investors want to know how to be able to trade a share like Hannan Metals, or to be able to buy Southern Cross Gold on the TSXV, we will have a platform service which we'll be launching very shortly. So please reach out if you've got any interest and to let us know. But Mike, have you got any last thoughts? But before you go, do you want to give a quick wrap on Southern Cross?
Southern Cross is an amazing deposit, and we're starting now to de-risk it while still expanding it. We've got a 200-kilometre drill program. We've got 8 rigs. We'll be bringing 2 more in. We've got a very clear plan to drill out a maiden resource between now and Q1 27 with that 200 kilometres of drilling. We're putting in permitting shortly for the decline, which will go 1.4 kilometres underground on the tunnel. It's just one of those very rare assets that you find, and I think that's probably the commonality between the two is that, we've been able to filter over the years, getting to the very good assets. And I've gone through a lot of projects in my career, and that's really at the pinnacle now of those key assets. Southern Cross, very, very different project and different company, and much more advanced. And Hannon is at the starting gate, but huge opportunities there as well.
I think the key thing, and when we first started with Southern Cross, you talked about the Pierre the Song curve, how it trades up, and you've now got Pierre the Song as a large investor in Southern Cross. But I think you've got that exploration, and then it sort of pulls back when it gets into mining. But with Southern Cross, you're going to have that extra trend of 10 kilometres of strike, where they had all the old workings, where there's a lot of exploration upside still to be had. We could have 6 or 7 Sunday Creeks there. We just don't know. We've got to get through to it all. So I think from a valuation perspective at the moment, where you're looking at Southern Cross, and we've got a lot of shares personally at STK Markets still in the share. We're thrilled to still own them. We recommend clients really do look at keeping or adding to their portfolios, because you found one discovery there beautifully, but there's still almost 10 times the amount of territory where you can find potentially more in this system. So you've still got a lot of scope and a lot of upside for Sunday Creek, and I think Hannon's very similar, where it might even be bigger, because you're talking 150 Ks as opposed to 11 Ks or 10 Ks down in Melbourne. You can have discovery on discovery on discovery, which can keep that momentum going and going and going.
That's what creates the real value, is discovery. So yep, that's the sweet spot. That's what we love doing, what I love doing, and what investors ultimately will benefit from.
Well, hopefully the good news keeps coming from Sunday Cross. There seems to be another announcement every other week with more gold. I was actually laughing on Monday morning when I was watching your video, and you said, "Oh, here we are with another discovery," and then straight away you said, "I sound like a broken record," or something similar. And it was exactly what was going through my head at the time. So it was quite funny how you delivered that, but it is fantastic. You keep discovering, and let's hope those results continue on throughout that whole system. And Southern Cross or Sunday Creek is only a fraction of what it's going to become.
There's a lot more to come, Sean.
Well, good luck, Mike, with Southern Cross set up. Let's continue to start looking at Hannon.
Thanks for your time, Sean.